All right, in monohybrid practice number 1, number 12 is kind of tricky. So let's look at number 12 together. So number 12, it says that SpongeBob's cousin, Sponge Billy Bob, recently met a SquarePants gal, Sponge Gertie, at a local dance and fell in love. Use your knowledge of genetics to answer the following questions. Okay, so the first paragraph tells us all about Sponge Billy Bob and the girl he met, Sponge Gertie, and she's got square pants. Okay, the next paragraph is going to give us Sponge Gertie's background so that we can hopefully figure out her genotype. Okay, so Sponge Gertie's father is heterozygous square pants. This is really important. Whenever you see a phenotype and you know that it's heterozygous, that tells you that that phenotype is dominant. So in this case, we now know square pants is dominant. If you think about this, heterozygous means one big S, one little s, and he has the phenotype of square pants. We're going to do this to you a lot on homework problems and quizzes. So know whenever you see heterozygous followed by a phenotype, then that phenotype is the dominant phenotype. Okay, so Sponge Gertie's father is heterozygous and he's got square pants. And her mother is round pants. Well, if square pants is dominant, then round pants has to be recessive. So let's go ahead and define our alleles real quick here. So big S would be square pants, and little s, now I have messy handwriting, so sometimes when I'm using things like S's or P's or W's, I will put a line over my lowercase just to say that's lowercase. Okay, and that's round. Okay, so Sponge Gertie's dad's heterozygous and her mom is homozygous recessive. Okay, so now we have to figure out her genotype. Okay, well, we know she's got square pants, so that's going to be important. And we know dad, I'm going to put dad's genotype on top here, is heterozygous, and that mom is homozygous recessive. Okay, so going ahead and filling this in. Oh, did you see that? I already made a silly mistake. You always want to go back and make sure that you brought over and brought down the correct alleles. Otherwise, you could do that. Okay. All right. Well, I can automatically get rid of 2 of these genotypes. I know she cannot be homozygous recessive because Sponge Gertie has square pants. So that only leaves the possibility of her being a heterozygote. So Sponge Gertie has to be big S, little s. Okay? And now it says that Sponge Billy Bob is heterozygous for his square pants. Well, if he's heterozygous, I know that he has a big S and a little s. All right, next step. Let's complete a Punnett square to show the possibilities that would result if Billy Bob and Gertie had children. Okay, so Gertie is heterozygous and Billy Bob is heterozygous. I'm going to go ahead and do this Punnett square. Okay, so 1/4 of the offspring will be big S, big S. Now remember, I got that number because one box is big S, but I have a total of 4 boxes. So the 1 is on top of my fraction and the 4 is on the bottom. Okay? All right. 1/2 or 2/4 is heterozygous. Okay, and then 1/4 is homozygous recessive. Now, an easy thing to do to make sure you're on the right track is go back and add up your fractions. Make sure it adds up to, 100% or 4 out of 4, which mine do, so I'm all set. All right, now phenotypic ratio. Again, if they have the dominant allele, then they're going to have square pants. So this would be square pants, this would be square pants, and this would be square pants. So 3/4 of the offspring would have square pants. Alright, and then 1/4 would be round. Alright, and that's how you do number 12.